Hi, I'm Teresa Duncan.
And I'm Kevin Henry.
Welcome to Chew on This.
We are excited to bring you our views of current topics in the dental industry and put a little different spin on them, giving you something to chew on.
If you need to jump off, be sure to check the show notes for links as well as how to get in touch with us.
And now, let's give you something to chew on.
And we are back with another edition of Chew on This. Hello, Kayvon.
Hello, Teresa Duncan. Good to see you and good to hear your voice.
Good to hear and see you too. We've got a lot going on here. I think we should just jump in because we have I feel like we're doing crime beats lately.
Which is never a bad thing. You know I feel that way. So, and you know what? I'm going to let you lead off the crime beat today because I'm excited to see where you're going with this.
Yeah. So, all right. So let me go here because I have a bunch of stories here that I wanted to go over. And oh my gosh, so let's talk about some nefarious doings.
Ooh,
do you like that?
You know what? You say the nefarious and I'm in. Absolutely.
The word nefarious just really needs a little bit more love out there. So, okay. So nefarious doings up in. Now, what do you consider to be a nefarious area of the country?
Oh, I don't want to get anybody upset, but I will tell you, Fargo is a tough place.
Fargo.
The Fargo Moorhead area.
The Dakotas. You don't go there unless you're strapped, right?
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
You ready?
No, I am sorry. It's a place called University Place, Washington State. Did you know that there were such dealings?
I know where University Place, Washington is, actually. Just from
now, your lovely bride is from that area.
I have toured this part of the world. Yes, the PNW. Maybe the N stands for nefarious. Who knows?
So, listen, I want to make sure that she's not involved in this because, if the cops come, make sure she pleads the fifth. But there was a burglary over in this area. So, a University Place dental laboratory was burglarized, and there are questions being raised about the equipment. So, things were stolen, but very specific things. Now, let me ask you, if you were to steal something from a dental office, what would you take, Kevin?
From a dental office?
From a dental office or dental lab? What would you take?
I mean, dental office, I'd think the nitrous would be a lot of fun. Let's take the nitrous, first of all. Out of a lab, though, I mean, I know what was stolen here, so I'm a little cheaty, but I think some of the instruments would always be good, for usage. Absolutely.
I think I would need to bring in some really big buff men to help me out with this stuff because I couldn't carry out what I would take out. I would take out some of these big milling things that are like $40,000, right? But this person was shooting, or people, I don't know who it is, shooting a little bit lower. So these were valued at $8,000 to $10,000 each, and they are actually dental ovens. Dental ovens. Okay, not for the stinky fish that your coworkers bring in. Not that kind of dental oven.
Not the microwave.
Did you ever work with someone that brought in like the worst food?
Yes, and I've had the person next to me on an airplane pop open a can of tuna and start eating. So
stop it, seriously.
That's my worst plane story, honest to God. It is.
I mean, honestly, like the air. What is it? What are those guys? Air marshals. They should be like pouncing on that immediately.
I would absolutely. I'd hit the call attendant button on that one. Trust me.
Holy cow! Tuna. That's like opening up a thing. Yeah, no, I can't even imagine what would be. Sardines would be worse, I think. Oh God. Okay. Wow. Sorry. Okay. So these dental ovens are used to make crowns and bridges. Okay. So they reach very high temperatures. You need a bunch of them to have. So obviously this lab was having some volume. So you got 4 of them going there. And then as an added bonus for our Chew on This listeners, we actually have video for it's a minivan. They're in the minivan. And so we'll post that in the show notes, but I'll be honest, this minivan looks pretty clean. Like it looks like it was taken through a car wash or something. So you can't be looking for ratty people. They've got some high-end burglars that are doing this. Okay. So owner Mike Shelley says that he's never dealt with a burglary like this. And he does believe it was a coordinated crime. So it sounds like it was targeted and they knew exactly what they were after. So they didn't go after any other, no drugs, no materials, no computers, just the ovens.
Interesting.
What would you do with a dental oven?
I was just in my head going, I never watched Breaking Bad or anything like that. So maybe I'm not as up to speed on these things as I should be. Obviously, you're cooking up some good stuff if you've got the dental ovens working. I'm just a guess here.
So, a sheriff department representative Sergeant Moss says he's not sure if it's being used for drug making or anything like that. I wouldn't think you'd have a big enough market or a specific buyer for these ovens. However,
Hmm.
in the research, that's actually stated by the journalist who did the research, not by me. In the research, this happened in 2016 too. In Atlanta, police arrested a Ukrainian man who was operating an unlicensed dental office inside a warehouse. The way they found it was the person who had been burgled, that's a great word,
That
who
is
had been burgled, went to go buy this from an online seller, and he suspected it was his oven that he
no.
was going to purchase, and he compared the serial numbers, and it was his oven that he was attempting to purchase. And of course the police were involved, and so the Pierce County Sheriff Department is going, well, is there a connection? And Sergeant Moss says, we just don't know. But I would say, please watch your ovens. You might want to chain them down. I mean,
Yeah.
they're pretty heavy, honestly. Who's taking off with these ovens, right?
I never thought about it being an unlicensed dental practice that would need something like that. That's very interesting that you bring
I,
that up.
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like if you want to be a high end unlicensed dental practice,
The best. Why
you've
not?
got to, right, you got to have, I mean, maybe you need the scanning machine. Maybe you have your own,
Yeah.
maybe they even have the actual materials to do all the glazing and the crown, the shade matching and all of that. I mean, honestly, a little bit of theft will set you right up.
I mean, that's impressive in and of itself. If you are aspiring to those high moral, lofty goals, come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just in my head, we cover a lot of unlicensed people on Dr. Bicuspid. It seems like there are a lot of unlicensed dentists and hygienists and even assistants now out there as well. So maybe
Right.
this is something we're seeing pop up.
Yeah, we need to watch this stuff because honestly, there's dentistry. I know offices all the time say that we can never, we need more patients and we need all that. But, obviously there's an underground out there
There
of
is.
people who need work and don't show up in our offices. And for some reason, this dude stealing ovens must have some sort of untapped marketing potential. I mean,
Well, I will be.
how else do you advertise, Kevin? How else do you advertise that you're like ready to rock and roll? Hey, I've got some ovens. What are you going to throw that out on TikTok or
Yeah, that's
something?
not something you put out on Facebook Marketplace or anything. That's for sure. But yeah, very curious because they said could be related to something. So will there be
Mm-hmm.
other oven snatching going on?
Don't snatch the oven. Oh my
It'd be
gosh.
nefarious
Okay.
to be snatching oven.
Well, and it is interesting though that I think that there are definitely more expensive items to take in a dental office.
Yes.
So the whole oven thing is amazing, but I am going to study the video of the theft. And I urge your wife, your lovely bride, to do
Yes.
so. Since she's so familiar with the area, she may even recognize this person. I mean, honestly, who better to recognize it? She sees people in mass all the time, so she might be able to pick them
It's
right
very
out.
true. Well, I'm lucky enough to be speaking at the Pacific Northwest Dental Meeting. And so definitely will keep an eye out on this. I will put on my Sherlock Holmes hat while I'm in
Yeah.
the Emerald City checking
You
things
should
out.
show the video. You should go full Crime Stoppers and show the video
Dun, dun,
in
dun.
your class. Right.
Yeah.
And then hope they're not in your class because then that's a problem.
When somebody bolts out of the room, I'll go, stop that man. It'd be fantastic.
Or they come up and go, hey, man, I got some ovens for you. You interested in some ovens?
Hey,
Right.
you're a dental speaker. You need any ovens, man?
Oh, gosh. All right.
No, well,
So,
Teresa, you know what I do need, though?
yeah.
I need more AI in my life.
Who doesn't?
Who
Wait.
doesn't need more AI, right?
Well, what kind of AI are we talking about,
Well,
right? Like,
let's be honest. Isn't AI about everywhere now? Isn't that the buzz? Isn't that what we're talking about?
everywhere. And I actually, let me just say before you jump into, it sounds like you've got some AI knowledge to drop on us.
I do.
One of my good friends admitted that she actually named her Chat GPT.
Really?
So did you think to do that? I never thought to name
never would have
the person.
considered.
Yeah. So now
Do we
I
know
bet
the
you
name?
though, Henry.
Oh, well, then it's a
Henry.
wonderful name. I mean,
So I'm just, that's true. I didn't even think of that. Mr. Henry. I didn't even think of that. So I'm just saying next time you go and fire up ye old Chat GPT, you might want to think about naming.
if you name it, you got to keep it. It's like a stray cat. I mean, that's just
Oh,
that was always the rule in our house is that
uh-oh.
yeah. So now I got to keep ChatGPT, but it's okay
I'm just saying.
because
Just
AI
saying.
is
It
going to
might
be
be.
part of this. Hey, there
All
are
right.
AI refrigerators, there are AI
Mm-hmm.
microwaves, there may
Mm-hmm.
be AI dental ovens. Who knows? But we know there are AI toothbrushes out there as well.
Ooh, I like where you're
Ooh,
going.
yes. So let's talk about an AI toothbrush because a lot of you may hear that and roll your eyes and go, come on, do I really need an AI toothbrush? Well, here's the thing a study has been done and published in the Journal of Clinical Periodontology that says that an AI powered toothbrush can indeed improve oral hygiene levels and duration of brushing. Now,
Hmm.
I thought this was very interesting, and we will link to this obviously in the show notes. And this is from a Dr. Bicuspid article. What a shock
Of
there. Oh,
course.
I a stunner. But it was very interesting to me because they did a test on people who already had periodontitis, so already
Mm-hmm.
dealing with gum disease, already dealing with some things going on in the mouth. And they did the two groups. One of them got the AI toothbrush, the other one did not. And they said that there was a significant difference in the two groups. The ones that had the AI and had that guide about where to brush, how often to brush, are you pushing
Mm-hmm.
too hard, all those different things, it actually did improve their levels of periodontal disease.
Now, how do they keep you like is there like a buzzer that's just like stop, don't go, stay here, right here, you missed
There,
that spot, like
there's a little
what?
voice that happens that says, "Stop that."
I
It's
mean, how
yeah,
do we be that voice? Like
it's
seriously,
like
I want to be
Siri.
that voice.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like
Teresa
you,
the toothbrush voice.
well, I mean, and I'm sure there's some people that would prefer a Kevin voice,
Well,
you
you're
know?
brushing too hard. Please stop. You missed you missed this spot. You might want to go back. You know,
See, you're so nice about it. I would be like, there's still some spinach up there. You
you,
keep going.
you're telling me you're done? I don't think you're done.
You call that a brushing? That's not a brushing.
It's like if you
So,
watch The Amazing Race and you've got to put like the skateboard together and you don't know what you're doing wrong, and it just says no, and they hand it back to you.
that's what your mouth looks like right now. That's what that's what you say. So AI assisted, meaning like there's beeps and buzzes and vibrations and stuff that
Absolutely.
kind of guide you.
So
Okay.
the AI toothbrushes that I have seen, and I know that there are several models out there, not just one. So we're not going to just poke on one, but we
Hmm.
have seen those that it literally has your brushing, and then it has something that you look at to let you
Yeah.
know where you've hit, where you've missed, where you might want to go back, as well as seriously if you're pushing too hard on your gums as well. It will test that as well. So yeah.
And and will this now be reported back to the dental office?
That ultimately, so the first time I saw this, I was at the IDS meeting in Cologne, Germany. The
Hmm.
first, they always launch all the new bells and whistles there. And that was going to be the thing is that it was going to be eventually be connected to your patient chart. So when you walked in to see the hygienist, he or she would know exactly how you've been brushing and they wouldn't have to ask you anymore, have you been flossing? Because they know. There's no lying. Here, we have proof right here, buddy. So, so
And as a patient, though, how do you feel about that?
So here's the thing.
Hmm.
This is honesty hour with you, with the listeners, everybody else. I go to see my hygienist 3 times a year instead of just two because I
Okay.
do have some issues with bleeding and I
Okay.
want to make sure that I stay on top of that. So for me, knowing that I kind of deal with that already, it would be something I'd really like to stay on top of. And I would rather Valerie, my hygienist, know all this stuff already. And maybe she's got some ideas for me even before I sit down in the chair, or who knows, 2 months into my 4 month cycle, she may be saying, hey, Kevin, I'm checking this and here's what you should be doing. Or here's a toothpaste
Okay.
you may want to try, or who knows what. I would welcome that actually. How about you?
I have to see how it goes, honestly, because I'm twice a year, but I have some recession because, we grew up in the time where they told us use the hard toothbrush. And then
Bingo.
we realized, uh-oh, sorry about that. Sorry about all the enamel that you've lost,
Whoopsie.
right? Yeah. So I've got some recession and sensitivity. So I am very careful with that. There's one area in particular that the hygienist is always like, did you forget about this tooth? Like,
Hmm,
like,
interesting.
no, I swear, but it's really back there. So I would like to be held accountable, but what's the limit? Like, what if you've got like happy sassy hygienist and like once a month she's like, what happened? Did you go on vacation for your toothbrush? Like, can you imagine?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
You're down in Mexico or something at a resort, and you fall asleep that night. She goes, "Hey, I noticed what you didn't do last night. Hello, yeah, you don't do
right,
that. You
right.
don't
Like,
do
I can imagine, I watch a lot of true crime, as you
Oh
know,
yes,
and there's going to be one episode where and the dental hygienist realized that she had not brushed her teeth in 3 days, and she alerted the authorities,
you
and they
know
went to do a welfare check on her. So you know what? Is
that's a
it
good tip,
creepy?
actually.
Like, I don't, what are we doing with all of this? Like, how much are we letting people into our personal lives? But I think from an education point of view, okay, great. And then you can basically, because what I want to use it for is to call out the liars that say, "Oh yeah, I floss all the time,"
Oh,
or
I
"I brush
brush
all the
3 times
time."
a day. Yeah, yeah,
Right. But the real usage is in the people like you who would welcome, because you're going to bust those people anyways. But people like you would welcome the extra like nudge and Valerie reaching out and saying, "Hey, I noticed, are you having more sensitivity over here because you're not brushing as much in that area?" Or would you
yeah.
be like, "You know what, Valerie? That's a little personal."
Valerie, I'm not using this anymore. And honestly, I can see some people would be worried about that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if it's just you in the bathroom and nobody else knows and it's just helping guide you, that's one thing. But you're right.
Right.
The day that the data starts going into your patient chart, I can see where
Mm-hmm.
people might get a little hesitant about that. But
So,
I
and
have a dumb recession too, like you do. So
oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's
So I
important.
mean,
Yeah,
well, because we're old, right?
we are.
So
We're
as much
dusty.
as we like to think we're not, we are.
Yeah.
We got the recession going on.
Yep.
So I do think it's like you said, the guide thing. So like I know Sonicare and Oral B, they have that. We're like boop, and then you move to the next quadrant. Boop boop, you move to the next quadrant. Okay, so that's fine. And there was a toothbrush years ago. I want to say Beam or something like that, that actually had partnered with a dental insurance company,
I remember that.
and
Yep.
yeah, and then like you're basically, if you had really good oral hygiene and you went on a regular basis, like you had a reduction in your dental premium. And I remember at the time saying, well, do you then jack up the premium if the person doesn't go? And they said it doesn't work that way. It only like gives you a bonus. It's not punitive. And I'm like, what are we doing here? It should be
Well, I
punitive,
mean,
right?
hey,
So,
Allstate has the thing where if you drive better, it tracks you on the app and it lowers your car insurance. But if you get in a wreck, guess what happens? It goes up. Same thing should
okay.
be there. I
All
agree.
right. So, I mean, it sounds like we're kind of going in that. I mean, that's a great analogy right there. I mean, if you wreck your teeth, then your dental insurance costs are going to go up. So that's,
Absolutely.
look at you.
I'm just throwing out that may be something that you and I need to invest in. And
Yeah.
listeners will split this with you some way, somehow. Yes, absolutely.
We'll give you a hot stock tip, right? We don't,
But,
because we don't have too many of those, so take them.
and the thing is, does this AI, if it's reporting back to the hygienist, then does that prepare him or her for what could be a longer, more time needed with that patient as well? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that ultimately impacts scheduling too. Be curious.
Yeah. Well, and then also, like, if you are doing some sort of coordinated healthcare, does that then go up to your cardiologist?
Oh,
You
I like
know?
that idea. Yeah.
So, I mean, we could theoretically be seeing a full circle with healthcare, and then healthcare reporting back to us, like what medications they're on that impact the oral cascade of
See, if
plugs
AI
and
can
stuff.
get us to that point, I'm good with
Yeah.
that. I really am. I know there's a lot of people that are very worried about where AI is going, but if it's something that actually helps us live better and live longer, and we don't have any interactions with drugs that we don't want, or that are unexpected in the practice, I'm all
Yeah.
about that. Absolutely.
Well, let's go to a little more of a somber topic.
Teresa,
But,
I've got
huh?
to be honest.
What?
I was always the Debbie Downer, but we've switched lately. I don't know when this happened, but somehow you got on board with the wah wah.
I know. And you know what? You're right. Why am I embracing this role? I
I
don't
mean,
get it.
I love a lot about you. Don't get me wrong, but this is another level of love that I have for you now. So it's fantastic.
you're not, you're not, but you're not liking it. I can see
I
you're
mean, I'm
really
just
not liking
jealous.
it.
That's what it is. So
Well, so let me, before we move on to this unfortunate incident that happened down in the land of aliens and UFOs. So that'll give you a tip on where we're going. When you said AI assisted toothbrushing, I actually was very hopeful and thinking that it would actually be a robot brushing your teeth.
You just lay in
So
there and it's doing the work for you?
yeah, like you just stand there and there's like an arm that pops out. Like how
Like
many
that's
Roadrunner and Bugs Bunny
yeah.
cartoons have we seen where it's just like, and then like a big lathering comes up in the mouth,
Yeah.
like and there's bubble, like, and then turn here, and
But then they always spit and they do this and it's always the ding, it's always they're
yes,
so shiny. So see, it must work. If it's in the
it must
cartoons,
work.
it must.
Yeah. So I actually, when you said AI, I was thinking we are finally there where the robots are brushing the teeth, combing the hair. I just stand there like,
So wait a minute. You're telling me I let you down a little bit. So technically I was the Debbie Downer. You're just trying to make me feel better now. I see where
you
this
know,
is.
I just really, I would never put you down in front of people, but yeah, I was a little
But yeah,
disappointed. So,
it
I mean, it's
actually
just a little chip you're talking about. I'm talking about full blown robots here, but anyway, so.
yeah.
All right. So in the past, Kevin, you and I have talked about how it's really important to be aware of our surroundings, to take care of our team. Like we've had some serious conversations about taking care of our
Oh, yeah.
teams, providing a good, safe workplace environment, and all of that. And unfortunately, crazy people are out there. Crazy is as crazy does, and they show up all over the place. So there's a man from Roswell and Roswell, New Mexico. If none of you picked that up, because maybe you're not into these, what is that called? Unsolved mysteries.
Oh
And
yeah.
what is that show? You know what I'm talking
It
about?
was
Was it Unsolved Mysteries? There's a
I'm
show.
trying to think of the one that used to Mulder.
Oh, X-Files. Yeah. So
X
if you're not
Files.
an X-Files
There you go.
fan, and
Yeah.
I know that it sounds like an ancient show, and if you've never looked it up, you really should look it up. But it's a great show. So anyways, lots of UFOs out in Roswell, Area 52 or 42, Area
Area
52,
51.
Area 51.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. All
yeah.
right. I am
One of
not a
those
UFO
numbers,
fan.
hey.
So that's apparently for all of us conspiracy babies out there. That's
Yep,
where apparently that's where the government has all the aliens and all the
they're all
ships.
there.
Like the whole Independence Day movie, like it's for real. Like supposedly. All right. So man from Roswell shows up in El Paso, Texas, and has been indicted by a grand jury for the not so cool event of threatening to shoot the staff of a dentist for not seeing him without an appointment, and he threatened to burn down the apartment building.
Yeah.
So this is terrible, absolutely terrible. So this happened last year in July. They began investigating him during the first of several incidents, allegedly involving death threats, according to the court documents. So, okay, so here's a scenario, Kevin. Mr. Gordon shows up at an office in Roswell unannounced. Oh, wait a second. Okay. So this is New Mexico even. And then they went into Texas. Oh my goodness. This is an evolving case in my mind because I didn't read it all the way.
Multi-state incident. There you go.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. No, the feds are getting involved here. Okay. So he shows up at a dental office in Roswell, wanted treatment, and then got really, really aggressive. The staff. And then this is my head scratcher. He was then given an appointment and then he left.
Yes, I saw that too.
Okay. So then a criminal complaint was filed in New Mexico because the crisis line that I guess Gordon called the crisis line told a representative that he was planning on killing the staff members of the dental office when he went in for his August 2nd appointment. How crazy is that?
And
Okay.
So it's funny whenever you said that because I thought, did they just give him the appointment to try to get him out of there? And then they're like, there's no way this guy's going to come back or whatever. But I agree with you. If somebody is setting off a red flag already, why are you saying, well, here, come back this day? It'll be much better.
Yeah, there wouldn't have been an appointment card given in my case, but I mean, I wasn't there. You weren't there. I mean, maybe they did feel exactly what you said, and they were going to call him later and say, "Hey, sorry," or they just closed the office. So the police were investigating that allegation, and then there were domestic threats at a Roswell address, and then that was again this Mr. Gordon there telling the Roswell police. So I guess they went to his address and then found him there. And then he started telling them allegedly that he had planned on shooting it out with the cops. So this guy is like really just kind of unhinged. They seized a gun from him and then transported him to the Eastern New Mexico Medical Center for mandatory mental evaluation. Thank God. So basically this guy wants to shoot up the dental office, wants to shoot up cops, allegedly. And now he is on, he's getting indicted for that. And he's actually in federal court for this. So I am just perturbed by this whole thing. But I think our takeaway and why I wanted to bring it up, and I saw this magazine called Border Report, but also Dr. B has this information, Dr. Bicuspid has this information too. So if you wanted to do some deep reading on it, but basically, this is one of those things where we always hear, oh, wow, that's a crazy story. And it almost feels like it's never going to happen anywhere near us. And here it is, so I think you and I have talked about this before. You can't assume that these stories like just happen in Storyland. Like this seriously could come knocking at your door.
And, you have plans in place for medical emergencies and sadly we have talked about this. You're exactly right. Having a plan in place for if there's an active shooter, having a plan in place if you're being threatened, if you feel threatened. I think every member of the dental team needs to understand that if somebody like this walks through your doorway, what are the steps for that member of the front office? What are that steps for any clinician that comes out to talk to this person or to see what's going on? I really do think that this isn't something you say, well, that never happens in our part of town or whatever, because, sadly, it could happen in your part of town.
Yeah. And it's just, so that you said the active shooter, they actually take you through an activity of sheltering in place, just like unfortunately kids in school do.
Yeah.
So there's that whole exercise there. And I know I'll put in a plug. Dwayne Tinker is a compliance cop in Texas, but he was also a former cop. And he came on the podcast last year, and I can link that, but he came on the podcast to talk about how to make your workplace safe because he has a lot of experience in this. And he actually had been friends with those two dentists in Tyler, Texas, who unfortunately were killed by an angry dental patient. And so we can always link that story, but also the interview with Dwayne where he goes over what to look out for. Not a lot of new managers know, but part of being a manager and a dental office owner, any business owner, is that it is on you to make sure that your employees have a safe workplace environment. So you can't just say, oh, well, it's never going to happen to us, or we'll handle it when it happens. Like you actually, if you are shown to not have provided a safe workplace environment, there's actually liability involved with that. But other than that, you just got to take care of your people, right?
You do. And you have to make sure that, we have a hard enough time keeping team members together right now. If I'm an assistant or hygienist and I don't feel comfortable going into work, then that's even less of a reason for me to stay at that practice. So I think you've got to be proactive. And, Teresa, we've heard stories about, I think there was one about a hygienist who had an angry boyfriend who came in to confront her in the practice. All these scenarios that play out that you have to be prepared for. And like you said, you have to take care of your people, that if they get caught in the middle of this, what do they do? And they have to know that information.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe this is a team meeting to have. And then at that team meeting, you break out the AI-powered toothbrush and you talk about marketing campaigns for that. And then at the end of that meeting, you chain down any dental ovens that you have in your office. How's that?
This sounds like a full, fun day.
Yes.
Yes. If people are saying, well, we're going to take our team out for bowling and stuff. No. Here's an activity right here that's going to bring everybody together. It'll be fantastic. Unless
you practice bowling your patients in the waiting room as a defense mechanism. How about that? You've got
just exactly Bugs Bunny thing. A bowling ball comes through to take care of the threat. That's fantastic.
Listen, if dental offices across America were set up like Acme, like an Acme factory with rockets and a button where you can just launch a patient out the door, right?
That'd be fantastic, actually.
I mean, come on. You would want to be a patient just to see what happens to the dude sitting next to you if he mouths off.
Well, what about the patient in the chair? Because there's a lot of people that go, I'd push that button so fast right now, get rid of that person. I'm just telling you. You're talking about the injection you got? Well, here you go, buddy.
Right. Have arms that come across on the side, just stretch the mouth out. Open. So
Acme dental practice. This would be fantastic, actually.
Acme dental. Yes. See, there's some good that comes out of every episode, Kevin. That's the silver lining of Chew On
There you go. See?
All right, we're gonna roll on out of here. Dear listeners, we always appreciate that you take the time to laugh with us and that you put up with us, quite frankly. Until next time, see ya.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Chew on This. We hope you laughed and learned a little.
Check out the show notes for any links we mentioned, and don't forget to give us a rating on your podcast app. Feel free to drop us a comment on social media or by email if you have any suggestions for future topics.
We'll be back in about 2 weeks. See you then.